glad you're both here. I was wondering if it would be 2 or 1. Can you hear me, or do I need? Okay, perfect.
We can hear you.
Easy.
You sound good.
I love that you're wearing it.
I'm wearing my sweater, even though it's kind of too hot in my house to wear it right now. It's a very warm sweater.
Like my opening was like the hottest day of the summer, and I was like, anybody need a sweatshirt? No, nobody.
Yeah. How are we feeling about sweatshirts?
Winter's coming, guys.
Yeah. No, it's very cozy and nice. I like it a lot.
Yay.
Highly recommend. So Nell kind of jumped on the theme of our very first flat files, where Kyle and I shared a print that we didn't know who made it, or even where it came from. So we've decided to sort of theme this one as like who made this?
Who arted it?
Or where did this come from?
Who arted it?
So we have 2 that fit within that theme, and then the third one is just like a
theme
slight,
adjacent.
Yeah, it's theme adjacent.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So
that's what I wanted
that's
to do. And then I sort of sideways wanted to also talk about how you can maybe start an art collection without much money if you collect street art, or if you keep your eyes open, or if you are into trading. And that's a great thing about printmaking, is that you can make multiples, and you do have this opportunity to trade with your friends. And then I wanted to share my first painting, or it's actually a screen print. Oh, okay, sure.
Well, first you're going to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what you do.
Sure. Well, I'm Nell Casson, and I do embroidery art right now. But I did do my undergrad in in printmaking in general, and I did a lot of screen print. I did the program at Sheridan that you also do U of T. I'm not even sure if that exists anymore, but it was called the Art and Art History program. And you ended up with a degree and a diploma in 4 years. So it was like overachievers kind of school. But I'm glad I did it. And Sheridan was more fun than the U of T part, because it was it kind of made me think that I probably should have just gone to art school, but ending up with a Bachelor of Arts was worth it, because that opened a bunch of other doors, like language schools and travel and all kinds of things. So I'm glad I had that degree. But it's sort of a roundabout way of getting your education.
Well, I mean, Queens is kind of like that, like it's studio, and then there's like mandatory art history classes, but you don't actually get the dual credit, even though technically you've done all the work to have both. It was a real, like, thorn in the side.
And I remember OCAD, and maybe they still do this, where they've now linked with a university so that you can work on a BA as well as doing your college program. So I don't really know. I mean, I think it's a great idea. You're doing the work. I mean, art school, compared to my friends that were, taking their history degrees and things, I was at school for like at least 10 hours a day, sometimes longer. You'd be there all night in the studio, that sort of thing. Not that it's always about how much time you're spending, but honestly, it's a tough degree to get through. My graduating class had maybe like 7 kids in it. Like, it's not many people finished.
Yeah, the dropout rate is high.
Very high.
Because you're still doing all of those like lectures and essay writing and exams, and then you're like just constantly in the studio trying to like produce a bunch of things that are good and not
and you're also learning all the techniques
and sad.
At Sheridan, they just sort of threw you in. Like, can't you just print make? You're like, I guess. I don't know. I started yesterday. Watch me go. But so you're learning all those techniques, and then you're also trying to come up with a body of work. It was kind of it's a crazy thing, really. But
but I sort of miss it all the time.
No, I don't.
You don't?
Oh,
I don't miss essay writing like at all.
Chrissy's sister is taking courses again, and when she talks about like having homework and stuff like that, I'm like, no. I don't want
I mean, it'd be nice maybe to have a project. Like, I really did enjoy projects, and I still enjoy projects. Like, I'm currently working on a couple projects here in the county. The Firelight Lantern Festival, which is a big arts festival that we're both involved in every fall, has gone online this year, so it's a lot smaller. but we're doing kind of stage to screen. There's not a lot of detail yet, but like there's going to be some sets and there's going to be some music and there's going to be some parts to that. So keep your eyes peeled. I'll let you know as things progress. So a good project is good to have, especially if we're going to get locked down again, which could happen. So it'll be nice to have something to work on.
It's feeling like that's coming.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, yeah, you guys have had a really great time out there, barely getting out anyways.
On the topics of education and universities, this morning I think I was reading a report that somebody in like Queen's residence has COVID, and they've like locked down the buildings, and now you just kind of sit in your own dorm
extra
for
level
2 weeks.
Of loneliness. Like, you know, that first year when you're so scared and you're supposed to go to things like Frosh Week and be out there, all of that stuff is canceled. So you're just literally sitting in your room, like talking across the hall.
And those dorm rooms are not inspired spaces. Like they're, you know.
You're so polite.
Well, they're not. Mine was literally cinder blocks.
Yeah, they're all cinder blocks.
And it was shaped like a pizza.
Oh yeah.
Remember that space, Nell?
Yeah,
it was literally a pizza shape.
That space,
yeah, it was the size of
like a triangle-shaped room makes you go crazy too. Like, it's not good for your brain to live in a room that is like, it's like architecture 101. Do not put people in a corner.
Dirty Dancing had it right all
along. Okay, so a little bit more about me, I guess. A long and winding road back to textile art. So my mom is a weaver. She's a master weaver. So I grew up in a house where there was, every textile. Rooms full of looms. I always was knitting. I was always weaving. Weaving. I love weaving, but I'm going to inherit a bunch of looms one day, so I'm going to really get into that later in my life. But embroidery was something I started when I was about 3. There's all little pieces of embroidery that are all over the house that I made when I was very young, sailboats and bunny rabbits. Like about 5 years ago, I picked it up again. And it's so portable and it's so cheap, and it's nice to get into the studio and print and make lots of things, but embroidery really slows you down, which is good for me because sometimes even with print, I want it to go so fast, so my precision gets a little loose, and that can get very frustrating, especially if you're trying to make multiples. Whereas embroidery, I really have to focus on one piece at a time.
Yeah.
And so the last few years, I've just been making big, large embroideries, and then this summer, I got a grant from the local arts council here in Prince Edward County, and it was great. They paid for me to live during the early days of lockdown, and I just was able to sell. And then that actually led to a pretty successful art show in August of these wearable art sweaters that Chrissy's wearing. So that's.
It says I'm fine.
I know
it's backwards.
Why doesn't Instagram mirror it? It's so weird. Yeah.
It would if I was using the other side of the iPad, but then I wouldn't be able to see you.
It's so weird.
You know, I don't know, man.
Anyway.
Yeah. I agree. I concur.
Okay.
I'll flip it in post.
Excellent.
When we upload it to the internet, so that like you can read all these things.
Yeah. So I've known Krystal since she was a small child. No, early teenager. And then I met Kyle.
Yeah, early teen.
A little bit later, but not that much. I think you were probably only 18 or 19. Small child.
I was still also a small child.
And we've spent a lot of time together in different cities. We've spent a lot of time socially. So some of the things we're probably going to touch on today are the idea of collecting art when you're out in the world, which we have done a little bit of that as well. So we're all printmakers, or various, not as much, but we do print. And one of the things I wanted to talk about is the idea of buying a print for someone else, and how it's such a harmless and easy way to submit some work. Oh, sorry, messages are coming in. So this print right here was bought for me, and I love this print. It's I can move it a little closer. It is such a good one. It's bought by a friend of mine named Claudia Fancello in Montreal. And, it's hung in my house for many years. I've moved it with me a few times even. And I'm going to tell you a terrible story. I got it professionally framed. It even has like a sticker from a framing place on the back. But I remember when we were in the framing shop, he had a frame. It's a nice frame. And the print was a little too big. So we cut the artist's name off. And I just thought, I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking it's a bargain and I'll get it framed. And so I don't know who did it. I don't know whose print this is. I know that it was part of a series before. I'm guessing the artist is from Montreal because Claudia is from Montreal and she would have supported her local arts community. And I would love to know. So if anybody knows, it's a 5-color screen print. That is this size plus probably 3 inches on each side. Why? Why would I do such a thing? I know it's that. I think I just thought I would always remember, but 20 years later, I don't remember. There were a series of 4 and they were all equally as charming. So this one is about stealing the covers. And of course, it's one of the most forgivable things in your partner, right? They're warm. They're a warm body. What do you need blankets for? I know there was one about brushing your teeth when someone needs to pee. That was another one of the prints as a symbol of true love. I think there was one where they were cooking and dinner together. I don't even know how I saw all of them, but I saw all of these prints. I maybe even Krystal, Anyways, if you're in Montreal and you know who this is, I would love for you to tell me the name. And I would love to look into this artist and maybe look at more of their work. Yeah.
It's such. I remember when you got this print. I was still. I think I maybe was just out of high school, and when you first got it, you're right. It wasn't framed. Maybe we did see this work though in Montreal because I remember the toothbrushing one, or perhaps we've talked about this work enough times that I have invented a memory of seeing the work, which I think does happen.
As an artist, like maybe this is something that you never want to sign your work. I have a hard time signing my work, and now that I work in textile, I can't possibly sign my work. Like, how could I even do something? I made tags,
but you
made
tags. Your name in.
For years of not signing my work, I figured out I could make tags. Not signing your work is, I don't know why is this something, you're not great at signing your work, I know. Yeah.
I hate it. I hate it with its passion.
My least favorite part of making art.
We've talked about this actually on Flat Files before, and I don't remember who it was with.
Yeah.
But it's a real thing. I think when I was working at Eno, which is a commercial gallery in the county, there was a few artists that would, on the back of their works, they would either have some kind of really nicely made label that they would put on the back that had all the information, size, material, name, when it was done, or they would write everything out on the back of a canvas or a panel. And that was such a good takeaway for me, was if you feel weird about signing your work, or if your signature is kind of hard to see or hard to read, having that information on the back, especially from a commercial gallery standpoint where I'm having to sell the work, and so maybe I'm on the phone with somebody and they want to know information right in that moment, and they're asking me about sizes and stuff. If I don't have to get out a measuring tape, then I'm going to pick that work. I'm going to be this work has all the information I need right here. I don't have to do anything extra. I can be on the phone with this person just pulling this information out. It was the best. I would highly recommend it. And it would solve problems like this.
So why don't we sign our work?
Yeah.
Why don't we? Where does that come from?
Well,
my signature's horrible looking, and I don't like it.
Your signature's not that bad.
It's bad. It's bad, guys. Don't listen to Kyle.
It looks like a signature shit. It's illegible. It has a C and a P in it.
Yeah. Does it break up?
That's all you really need.
Imagery? Is that part of the problem? You know what I mean? If this has anonymous written here, whatever their name, does it ruin the imagery? Does it I would love to know why, especially now we're living in such a digital age, so many things are just made that aren't marked anymore, that are just into the ether. We're going to lose more and more attribution if we continue this, like, oh, I don't really, it's not because I don't love the work. I'm sure this artist was quite proud. I mean, they made a 5-color edition print. That must have taken some time. Yeah. I would love to get to the bottom of that. And I don't know if that's something that we're being taught, or if that's something that I don't know.
Well, I think like in print, a lot of the time it's about space, right? So, and especially like when you're in art school, like maybe this person was like a grad student or a student, and so you have the liberty of like using a large sheet of paper, like maybe materials are being paid for by OSAP or something. And so like the luxury of being able to do something sort of smallish on like a large piece of paper is so satisfying, and it like makes the print feel like it has such a presence. And so I can see the like urge to like hold the signature down near the bottom so that it doesn't interrupt that like space that
my
the
choice to cut this
float in.
The wrong choice. This is a frame. Do not do this. Even if someone gives you a really great, nice, solid wood frame and offers to frame it for free or something, all you have to do is cut it off. Never do that. That's not what you should do. But
no, agreed.
Yeah. I mean, I also wonder, because I'm a sloppy editioner, I also have a hard time signing my work because my editions can get so loose by the end that, it's not really, even if there are 20 prints, number 19 and number 1 are usually quite a bit different. And
then you just
varied edition.
Varied edition.
And then it feels like it's not that varied, though. It's pretty much from the same family. I wish there was some easier way to kind of classify. I mean, there's so many official rules with print and with signatures that it'd be nice to kind of get away from some of that. They say it's actually like a really big problem with contemporary art because there's so many pieces of work that are just unattributed, and we're going to come into like the next generation of museums where people are kind of guessing. Be interesting to see some like that Jackson Pollock movie where they were like, is this a Jackson Pollock? Like they had to do like carbon dating and like practically DNA of a
like forensics on it.
I'm
well, we have a friend who had this, I forget if it was like a Rembrandt or it was somebody famous, a print passed down like through their family.
It was a Rembrandt.
And they got it after someone had passed. And they were like, okay, we should probably get this like evaluated because it's in our house and, we should insure it. And so they took it to a museum, and the museum came back to them and they were like, so it's an original plate, but it's not printed by Rembrandt. It was printed in the 50s. We can tell by the paper. And the plate should have been scored, but I guess it wasn't. So it's valueless. It's worth nothing. And they were like,
they hung it back up if they liked it. I mean,
Oh, they did. Yeah, no, it's definitely in their house. But I kind of love that because, like, that's also really interesting too, right? Like the plate's still done by the person, but because it wasn't printed by them or in that time period,
that
it's like just means nothing.
Didn't have his hand in that many prints. Actually, he had many people that were always hanging around pulling prints. That the ones that he actually printed. I mean, I still don't know if they know. I mean, they must know some, but there was a lot of documentation. He filmed a lot.
Well, I mean, he filmed a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to show our print now. The first print we have is text, because why not?
Oh, you should just cut it off.
Every episode, we might as well have text in it. Just cut this part off. So this print, I'm pretty sure we got it at like a conference. It's really simple. It just says art builds. And I feel like it's been my little like mantra print for a little while. But I've looked up this press. It says York Show Press. I'm pretty sure that this is Alabama.
What?
And it doesn't exist. Yeah, and so I don't know if maybe they just don't have a website or they have no online content at all. Like I've tried several different keywords, and I cannot find it anywhere.
I do not know how old this print is.
Well, I feel
I
like
think it came
if
from
it
a
was,
Southern Graphics,
yeah,
but which
Yeah,
one?
yeah.
I don't know. They all kind of blend
Well,
together
and
now.
it's letterpress, I'm guessing, right? Is it
but it's
letterpress?
like
So the
it's definitely letterpress, and it's definitely like wood blocks. You can feel like you
Yeah.
can feel the block impression. I feel like it might have been, and I hope this isn't wrong, but it feels like possibly a student project. Just it's not aligned correctly. Like there's more space on
Or
this
just
side
someone
than
who's a
there
bit of a
is
loose
on this
printer.
side, which just feels like yeah, or that. But it's like, but it's another good example of space. Like, look how big this piece of paper is for a very small amount of information, which I do love. We didn't cut ours off, but it's also not framed. And it's like printed on just like a really probably non-archival, like it almost feels like the cardboard that would like be in the back of something, like that you would normally like throw away, which I kind of also thought was on theme, because that's something that I think is really nice about printmaking, or even like doing little sketches and stuff, is that if you're kind of looking at having things be given out or just like really affordable, then you can use like sort of whatever materials are around you. And then it just still feels like a beautiful, lovely print, despite the fact that like this paper is, not the best.
No, it could be really high quality paper, or it could just be like packing cardboard.
Well, based on how this ink down here is laying, it feels like it's just backing cardboard. Like you can see it's all like
splaying out,
bleeding.
It looks like it was made
as
a giveaway multiple.
Like print snobbery.
And I feel like there's something really great about that, because people's printmaking, you can make multiples, and especially a letterpress. But interestingly, it's made with block letters that were probably from the 1900s, they're.
Yeah, those are expensive. That's why I'm like, this shop is either in a school
you don't have
or
those
it's like
at
a
home. And then the paper could be from anywhere. So even if someone even wanted to do the carbon dating and the forensics, they probably still couldn't figure out who made that print. Like there's nothing to tie that print to a person, which is, this location.
Other than this location, which I even have a zip code. I guess I could
sometime
mail
in the
address
last.
and be like, who are
I
you?
went to so Screen Graphics is a printmaking conference with thousands of people who go, maybe even 10,000 people. It's a huge conference. Yeah, and you picked this up.
Yeah.
You didn't trade for it. It may have just been on one of those tables where there are just prints you can grab. It's so weird to think that there's a piece of art that has been created by a ghost, and that's another sad thing a little bit about printmaking is that once you leave school and you do lose the tools, and maybe you lose some of the funding, you're not a printmaker anymore. I'm lucky I still have. I'm saying how lazy I am in a way that I don't use. I have access to a studio, but
we live.
I live with a print shop.
I haven't made a single print this year, and literally
we all go through printing a lot and printing.
So,
but this person maybe they were a letterpress printer, and they didn't. Not everyone has a letterpress, that's for sure. And so maybe they just have nothing.
And it's just such a nice, simple print. I don't know. I think everybody should have some letterpress in their life. It just feels good. Yeah. There's something about the way that a block of wood presses onto paper that it's not, you can't replace it. It's so satisfying.
Accessibility. It's amazing, services like Sparkbox, where you do offer print workshops, you offer print residencies, you give people back the access to their equipment that you need, which is one of the really important things about Sparkbox Studio. And also, you teach people how to print, and they walk out of there with 9 of something, and they're like, I don't understand. I have this pile of this thing, and they're not all perfect, and I don't really know. But that means that you have 9 that you now can put out into the world, which just sign them first. But yeah. it does kind of explain.
French
Yeah, it
name
helps
on
people
the
really
backside.
understand why you would make a multiple, which is one of the things that I had a hard time with at first, and I still, my additions are never large enough. I do struggle with that as well. So, I know.
Well, I mean, you just said that True Love one was one of 4,
exactly.
So you're not alone.
Can I show you my second one?
All right, what's your second one?
So my second one is this hilarious painting. It has a story, of course. This is a painting on a piece of plywood.
Gosh.
No marks, nothing on the back. Literally just some
painting. Oh my god.
Plywood. So one of the things, a reason I wanted to show this piece of work, other than I am quite curious of who painted this. I actually got this on New Year's because we had a little bit of tradition over the years of like finding something on New Year's and making it a piece of art to to memorialize the evening. So we used to spend our New Year's together in Montreal and Toronto. Did we do Toronto? Maybe did Toronto. I don't know. I always go away for New Year's. They are
maybe one time.
But this was the 2019 to 2020 New Year's Eve in Syracuse. And this was hanging in maybe like the 3rd or 4th bar of the evening. It was getting close to the countdown, or maybe even it was after the countdown. It's a little foggy. And I bought this somehow. With some money and wallet. I was like, I need to have this in a bar. And then I was carrying it around, you know, like as you do. And can you just hold this for a second?
Hey,
I can't drink while I'm holding this.
And my purse.
And showing it to people, and people were really excited that I had got this painting. And I don't know who I paid. Like, I don't know if I paid the artist. I paid somebody at the establishment. Like, hopefully they would give the money to the artist. But I really liked him. He was so joyful for New Year's Eve, and I was like, this will be the perfect New Year's Eve thing to take home.
But it's also kind of like so ominous to the fuicer because it's like this happy little innocent cloud in a sea of darkness.
I tried to fit it in the Uber on the way home. Like I scraped it. I'm pretty sure. I don't think it was scraped before. Like, but it's okay. But I was hoping maybe someone might see this from northern New York State, and they might know this person because very recent memory. It's only from 6 months ago or 8 months ago. I mean, how long was it hanging in this bar? I don't know. It wasn't dusty or anything. But if anybody knows someone who paints these adorable little clouds, there were more of them, but I like this one because it was the only one on black night sky. I don't know. It's cute, right?
I know.
It's kind
Is it textured?
Like somebody splatter painted in the back. A little. Let me show you. I'll show you a little closer.
Okay.
Like it could have been painted by Syracuse does have a really great art program. Syracuse University, and it does have, it is a pretty creative town in a way, but it could also just be painted by a kid or something. I don't know. I would love to know. So did you make this? And if you did, I love it. It's been hanging in my house now for a year or 6 months. It's gotten me through some tough days. I even have embroidered clouds a lot in the last 6 months. Not this guy. I mean, my cloud is a little different than this guy, but having this guy watch over has been nice. I also like these kind of kissing, maybe like, yeah.
I know, he does look a little kissy. Oh my gosh.
So cute, right?
So cute. It's so cute. If you remember the bar, maybe we can tag them in the Instagram story.
So my detective brain was like, oh, if I was an art detective, I would call the bar and be like, hey, who are the artists that you showed at this time? What was hanging here? And I feel like that would be the first lead I would
this whole
chase
idea
down.
of buying a piece of art or acquiring a piece of something, collecting something on New Year's, the reason it's great for you guys is that I remember we were standing in line in Montreal. It was one of those really cold New Year's Montreal. Everyone was wearing so many jackets. And somehow the K had fallen off a bank. It was Montreal Bank. and the K was on the ground, and I remember picking up and being like, if only we knew someone whose name started with K. And you were, and I was like,
Yeah.
we do know someone. This is the perfect thing. And that was like the first time where we got one of these like artifacts to take home. And
Artifacts.
I've kept up the tradition.
What's Lean's?
Oh, does someone know? No.
It reminds me of the book Bad Mood and the Stick. The Bad Mood is a puppy cloud character.
Oh, oh yeah. I'm just remembering our Uber driver. Like, you know how they're just so fed up on New Year's Eve? Like, just get out. Like, you're all over the place. And it's like, I just got to put this pan in your car. And she's like...
I do not miss getting in Ubers in Montreal on New Year's.
No, me neither.
No.
All right.
Ooh.
But this is kind of like...
This is our next share.
What?
It's like a two
cardboard screen printed with like a slice in it, so like
it comes two-headed. I love that.
There we go.
It doesn't.
So I
that
can't
is Say
remember what
Anything.
movie this is.
John Cusack. Yeah.
Say Anything. Yes. But so this is definitely from a Southern Graphics conference. It was in Knoxville. I feel pretty sure about that.
It was definitely Knoxville.
And so it was like in some kind of factory type space, and there was like a platform that I had to stand on and do a dance. What did I have to do?
She is very correct. So like at every Southern Graphics, they have like kind of these curated exhibitions, and this happened to be a part of a large kind of exhibition. And there was definitely like this platform that you were invited to go up on, and then they would play the soundtrack to Say Anything, and you would dance. And if you danced,
it's so good. Well, I like the way they refuse to cut through his head, so that it doesn't. And they're like the other one, it should be cut like right through the middle of his head, but they're like, oh, I can't. It would hurt his head too much. Like, I can't do it.
No.
So.
But yeah,
there's no name. And there were many of them.
Like, there's nothing. There's not even a date.
No information.
There's no information whatsoever about this. Again, just printed on simple cardboard.
Do you think it was a school? Like, do you think it was like because you know how there's like all those schools there? Yeah.
There's like student exhibition components, and like I feel like that this movie
it's actually
wasn't or
it's pretty
was.
cool.
I can't remember it all.
The schools kind of play it a bit safer. Like they're like, you know.
I think it might have been like one of the like invited portfolio exchanges, and like kind of one of those like, hey, in Knoxville we're gonna have this exhibition. You can submit proposals for this kind of thing.
No signature.
But there is no signature.
No, and no information like at all. Nothing. Like not even.
Yeah.
Not even what the exhibition
the name
was.
Of the gallery or the studio or anything.
There's a story though.
It's so crazy, right?
No. Nothing. Yeah, and I think like it's sort of like the New Year's thing a little bit in the sense that like I mean it's fun, it's a funny print, but it's not like it's getting warped. Yeah. It's not like the most amazing thing we own.
It's literally just cardboard.
But
it'll die like if we leave it in the sun.
The story of it and like the memory that I have of getting this is so weird and great, and I think that I really liked that at this like printmaking conference, which can be like you've been there, it can be a bit academic and like a bit, you know, a conference. And this was like such a like weird exhibition. Like the space was weird. The fact that you had to dance didn't really make any sense.
Like usually the exhibitions are in like kind of these curated rooms. This one happened to be like in a university kind of setting in like the corridor, where there was like, the room had like a weird amount of steps to it. There was a big access ramp and like metal handrails and like kind of like this sectioned off area where like it felt a little bit like an atrium space, but it was not.
It felt like an auction house for cattle. Like, I don't know. Like, it had like a weird,
like a mezzanine.
Because there was sort of like an exterior.
Yeah, there was like definitely like a raised area where like the crowd could watch, and like Krystal was like down lower, but on a small platform.
Yeah, it was very strange, but also very fun. I mean, it was kind of like, I don't know any of these people, so who cares? And like the dance was short, and it could be they were pretty fast and loose with like what they considered dancing, as long as you like didn't stand still. You were gonna get a trophy, and I thought, hey,
and they gave out hundreds of trophies, so somebody actually did have to print hundreds of them, I'm sure. Like, you know.
Yeah. It's such a satisfying like art experience.
Like you know, we've been to SGC a few times, or well, just any exhibition. There, the things that really make art impact with you is your relationship with it, and if you don't have a story, I mean, this is not a great painting. I mean, I love it, but it's not like, wow, this guy could use a little work on his blend thing and just blob in some paint here. Really, I don't even know if he thought about the shape of this cloud. He really just stuck it on there. But I can say that because I'm not hurting anyone's feelings, because no one painted this painting. They didn't even sign it. Maybe they weren't that happy with it. Who knows? But yeah, like if you don't have a relationship, like we saw lots of great print, and I would really have to start thinking, what were the most exciting things I saw at any of those? Because you see, it's overload too, right? You want to maybe make sure that you create an experience, and I think if there's a takeaway from today, other than like you can make multiples, you can collect things and keep them. You know, not everything has to be archival. It won't last forever, but it may outlast you guys. Who knows? I'm always surprised what lasts and what doesn't last.
Yeah.
There's a big vintage market around here. It's amazing what is, 50, 60, 80 years old. You're like, huh. I opened the wall of my house and found a newspaper that was like, I don't know, 100 years old. You're like, how is this? I've been told this was going to disintegrate.
No, it's true. And in a wall.
It's all just still here.
Yeah.
So I like that you hung on to that thing, and who knows how long it'll last, and yeah.
I know. It just sits in my house. Sometimes you need a trophy. You'd be like, oh yeah, I won
dance
this
contest. Me.
We have Cora right now because our friend decided.
Cora.
Oh, hey babe. No, it's not. Yeah. It's not our dog, but she's our dog right now. She's shedding a lot.
Okay, we'll talk later. Okay, do you want my last piece? I think has a lot of fans. It has hung. I used to give my house to people. I would just move away all the time and let people stay in my house, and everyone that lived in my house was just like, I am in love with this little friend. I'm actually surprised it was always still here when I got home, because it was so loved. And this is this little character who has been around. This little guy has been
around.
This is a perfect example of. So this is a perfect example of just a piece of street art. This was just on a hoarding. And actually, the experience I had of grabbing this, like falling in love with this, seeing on a hoarding, it's staple gun right through his feet. He was just staple gunned right to a wooden thing. And just being like, that thing is so cute. I want that thing. I'm just going to take it home with me, and I'm going to love it. And I'm going to show it to other people, and they are going to love it. Everyone loves this little person. And yeah, it's really,
little robot
it's great
bunny.
Design. It's super cute. I feel like it's very mid-90s, a little early 2000s. And probably that's when, I think that's when I got him. He's so, like, at least 20 years. And,
I think so, yeah.
And again, no, like just some garbage, like, board that they had obviously around their house, probably out of a picture frame or whatever. And they even did this on the back to keep it from warping, I guess. I don't know why they did this, but they did.
Yeah.
It was from a street in Toronto, probably Queen Street, I'm pretty sure. Were you there that night? Yeah. That's why I
think I was, yeah.
99
yeah.
year old.
Yeah, and we
wrote with you. So where this was, we pulled it off and we're like, we're keeping that, it's so cool. And I remember writing, I really loved your art. Thank you for bringing some happiness or joy to the street. I remember writing that in marker on the wall where I took him from. And you know, because I was a little conflicted, like, oh, but now no one else will see it, except I have made sure that lots of people have seen. It's had a life.
It's had a life other than the very
Yeah,
first
like
rain that
rain, whatever
happened
was going to happen
afterwards.
next, this guy was just going to turn to mush out there on the street. But instead, he's had a real life. And then lately, in my own art, I've done a lot of these street interventions, and actually for years, I've been doing this kind of stuff with a lot of wheat paste and the Love
Yeah.
Wall, which was a project in Picton here where anyone could contribute. Cardboard, paint, just keep it cheap, keep it cheerful, and you know, make a piece of art or a sign or a concern or whatever, and just stick it on this construction hoarding, and share your thoughts with the world. And people went crazy for it. The response was huge here.
Mm-hmm.
It was during the early days of the pandemic. You know, made the front page of the local paper. You know, you had families, you had 80-year-olds, you had everyone leaving their messages. You had prayer flags added. It was sort of amazing to watch how it developed and grew. And then since then, to see the protest posters and the marches and things that have gone on since then, and see how some of this design has kind of transferred across and transferred over. It would be nice to know who did this.
Yeah.
And a lesson I have learned from this is that I do make a lot of wheat paste art and poster art and staple it up around the world, and it goes missing. It always goes missing. I hope it goes into someone's house or some kid's bedroom, or I don't know. Wherever it goes is fine. But I've now started signing the back of them.
Yeah.
Because I think there is a reason, like you love it so much, you want to take it home, and you do take it home. But it'd be nice to support this artist. Like, this artist spent this time, made this piece of work, hung it out on the street for the public to see. They didn't get paid for any of that, and artists need to survive. And that's a definite thing that happens in street art all the time. If you're showing in a street, you're showing in an alley, you're not surviving, you're not feeding yourself.
There's no Carfax.
You know, even like recently there was graffiti was shown in a commercial for Volkswagen. Maybe they were driving Volkswagen down like a graffitied alley, and the artists lobbied that their art was like a pretty big part of the commercial. They were trying to make this car look more edgy or whatever, and they actually did get well, some got paid, some got their artwork blurred out, which was the choice, I guess. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember this story. It was like pretty significant because like the guy was like, "You're using my art to elevate this stuff, but you're not paying me.
Pay me. Like, you're using my work in your commercial. It's a big part of what's making this car look so cool."
Yeah, just like the song you
it
selected,
definitely
that you
comes down to
definitely
the
paid
context,
for.
and I would love to support this person. I mean, I would love to see this everywhere, and I feel like if I knew more about them, it would help their work and to grow. And maybe that's not the direction they want to go or whatever, but who knows? They should just. It would be so nice to be able to support them in some way.
So next time you do graffiti art, guys, like make sure to like sign it and like put your Instagram address and like your home address.
Unless you don't want to get charged with graffiti and then figure out a tag and make it anonymous.
Because I think it's time to recognize some of these artists for sure. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I love that piece.
I know.
It's so cute. It's so fun.
Yeah.
It is very.
It's really precise. Like their lines are so clean. Did they make like just hundreds of these? Like when I was doing the wheat paste paintings that I did for years in Montreal, I would do we would cover the whole loft with these, like I would be painting for days and days and days, and then one night just hit the whole town and hang up 50 paintings in a night. And then it was sort of like a gallery for about 2 or 3 days, and then they sort of deteriorated or they get stolen or they're, who knows, it's part of the art. By then I'm already working on the next ones to do, but those few days right after you do a big like night out plastering, you're like, this is like my whole, the city has now become my art gallery.
Yeah. I think I have a picture of being in your loft in Montreal and like all of the like prepped paintings like up in the space. Getting like ready.
If you're starting an art collection and you
see
see something like this and you grab it on the wall, and then you later on in life aren't a poor student, maybe you can afford to support someone's art. it gives you the time to go back and give back.
Yeah.
So it'd be really nice if I knew who this was, because when I took this, I didn't have money to buy art, but it was a great way to start an art collection. I wish I knew whose art it was. So.
Exactly.
Hi guys. If anyone knows, we'd love to find you.
So our last share
Excellent.
is by someone that we do know. Hopefully the glass, I couldn't take it out of this glass. But it still connects in a way to the theme. So this is done by Krystal Read. So she is an artist out of the States. She was living in Dallas. I do not know if she still lives there. And it's an etching, so it's an aqua tint. So basically, like, the plate has been sprayed with like airbrush to create like a textured airbrush pattern on it, and then she's done like multiple dips into the etchant so that she can get like the gradients of all the different tones in the outfit, and the faces. And so at the time, what Krystal was doing was she was finding just kind of like ephemera in vintage shops or yard sales, whatever, and primarily kind of these old images, or I don't know, like things that felt like family heirlooms. And she was bringing them back and then making work about them or with them, and the kind of inventing stories about them, but also kind of like thinking about the fact that people buy other families' photos if they're of a certain age. So like if someone's photos have been around for long enough, then the fact that you don't know any of the people in them and it's just a boring family photo seems to not matter anymore. It's like more the age of the material and maybe the fashion of the time, or the way you took a photograph at that period that's interesting. And she was really she was interested in exploring that, and then also kind of inventing new narratives about these people. So this one's just called Family Reunion. It's not her family. And it's like a perfectly done replica of a vintage photograph that she had gotten at just like a vintage shop. But I love the idea of like taking the time, as you know, like an etching takes so long, and it's just like a long process from start to finish, to recreate like a family portrait of people that you don't know at all.
Yeah. It also is just so evocative of a time, right? Like my family doesn't do that. Like, well, especially not now. I mean, now that photo just looks like, what? How did their bubble was huge? but like my family wouldn't even pose for a photo. Like a family photo now is several selfies stitched together, or one person holding a camera and everyone kind of leaning in like that Ellen thing or whatever. Or these weird professional shots, not weird, but like professional shots that are like, they're a little staged. They're kind of like in a weird staged, like look spontaneous like way. But they're
it's like the new Sears type
and that photo would have been so valuable. Like how many photos would you even have been able to take on a film in that era when that photo was originally taken? Like the fact that it was so important, like one person would have had a camera, they would have lined up all the kids, they got the photo taken. And then, within 2 generations, it's like, I don't know. Like it was such a valuable thing at one point. And now, of course, photos are
a dime a dozen. You don't think about it at all. You don't even print them, which I kind of also love about this, is that this image was printed once, whenever, and then it was remade and printed again in a completely different process. And like, I haven't printed a photo other than for the love letters.
And how many photos do you have, like on your camera? You have thousands of photos.
Like thousands. I honestly do not know the last time I printed a photo.
No. Well, and also because
No.
university.
And we can
for a
correct photos
project, and that'd be
instantly
it.
now. Like, you used to kind of take a photo. I remember I went to London when I was a kid, and we took a boat cruise, and I took photos of the Big Ben and the London Bridge and Tower. And there was like a bald man sitting in front of me. So I was a little kid, and so there's like a bald head in all of my photos, like bald man head, Tower of London, bald man head, London Bridge, whatever. And they're terrible, right? But I only had 30 shots, and I really wanted to get these landmarks that were so important to me on that day. But now it's like, I love these photos. Like, I must have been so tiny that I couldn't see over this guy's head. Like, all of the factors that come together, and then I was learning so much about like these important landmarks. It's amazing, right? I love looking at these photos because I also just love looking at the back of this guy's head and laughing so hard, you know.
But it's also like just holding photos and being connected to that moment just doesn't exist in the same way anymore. And I think that's something that I really liked about Krystal's pieces, you know, was this idea of like a lot of the stuff she kind of like thought about as sort of discarded. Like, you know, this was a family photo that someone did treasure at some point, and then like somewhere along the line it ended up in a vintage shop owned by someone that didn't know these people, but like saw value in it for a completely different reason. You know, it wasn't because it was remembering how little you were or being in that place with your family. It's like the value is shifted into something that's more commerce based, which is bizarre
Totally.
but also very fascinating.
Well, it also, I'm always amazed by photos like this too, because we have so much faith in our technology, even though I don't know why we do. I mean, I have, you know, most of my teens and 20s were on these little disposable, or not disposable, but digital cameras that had these, you know, SD cards that you can't use anymore. And so you put them on these picture frames that slide through, but they also don't work anymore. So all those photos are just gone. Like, I don't have any photos from certain years of my life. A friend of mine had a baby during that time, and she's like, I don't have a single baby photo because we put them on these little Canon, you know, smart shots or whatever they were called. And there's no way to get access to them, or I put them on a laptop that is like, can't even plug into the wall anymore. Like, you know, we have so much faith in we continue to have faith in our technology. Like, all of my photos are on my phone. I don't print them anymore. But I can actually hold my grandmother's photos, which she just stuck in the back of a farm ledger. Like, they're just glued on like the price of tomatoes of the day, and then all these photos are just glued in there. And one day she must have just been like, put them somewhere, and they're just gonna get lost in the farm, you know. But that farm ledger is really great because it has all those photos, and it has all this other detail about like the price of tomatoes and seeds and stuff. But it kind of creates a full picture, and someone has hung on to it, even though we don't know who all the people are. And yeah, I mean, I love that I have photos of my great grandmother, but my friend doesn't have any photos of her babies from the 90s because they're just,
I know, it's really weird. It is super weird.
I have a lot of faith.
And it's like, I don't know, for me it's kind of like both. You know, I love that like we aren't kind of just printing for printing's sake and having a bunch of accumulation of stuff. But then, you are kind of like, oh no. What I have like a PC that has all of my life from basically like the start of my 20s to like my mid 20s, and it doesn't turn on anymore. So I don't know if I'll ever recover. I mean, I still have the tower because like, who knows, maybe. But but it's currently just sitting there collecting dust, probably getting more and more useless every second. But we,
you know, have photos from the 1890s, which is I love it. And I also am like, but why am I not printing them? Why am I not printing them on like picking the best and printing them on the most archival paper? Because I even have that luxury. They literally had whatever photo they got was the photo they got. So maybe that's why this ended up in the thrift store, because it's like, it wasn't really a great. None of the cousins' eyes were open. I don't know. Like, why do we keep this thing? But we are doing that, which is. But again, we're printmakers, so maybe I have a spot in my heart for print and for the actual paper, and I want these things to last at least their life. I don't want them to disappear. So I'm a printmaker. This is my art collection. How to start an art collection for under $100.
Love it. That was great, Nell.
I know, it's so
Thanks
much fun.
so much for
We should do
joining
this
us.
again sometime. And if anyone has
Perfect.
can solve any of these mysteries, this one particularly, I'd love to throw some money this direction. Let us know. I'd be happy to support you in any way I could.
Well, take pictures and
Yeah.
send them to me, and maybe
Okay.
locations of where they were from.
Okay.
Then I feel like that will narrow
Perfect.
the
So
scope.
this hive
at least
mind
a
is
little
on
bit.
you now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Great to
Thank you
Have a
for
good
the awesome
Friday.
sweater. Bye, everyone. Thanks for
Bye,
joining
Bella.
us.